And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, Tom Vasel here, and today we're taking a look at Rise to Power. This is from APE Games, and this is a game about building city districts. But this isn't really a city building game as much as it is a hand management game and learning to use cards and outplay your opponents. There's some very intriguing back and forths in this game, although the theme is about building cities and the artwork certainly backs that up. Let me give you kind of an overview of the game. Each player is going to start with a player mat that shows some stats in their color, and I'll explain these stats later on. They also start with a power plant, which is going to start their city grid. Players are going to take turns around a table, and on a player's turn, the first thing they're going to do is they must acquire 2 contracts. Now, there are 4 contracts face up in the middle of the board. Contracts require different things. They have to take 2 of them. Now, when they take a contract, it has to attach to a power plant, or if they finished building something already, it can attach to a district that's already finished. Now, if they can't find a place to put it in their city, well, then they'll discard it. And so they only have so much room in a city, and you may not have room to put new contracts, but you have to add 2 new contracts each turn. Then players get 2 action points. Now, one of the action points they can do is they can draw prism cards. There's a whole pile of prism cards, and these cards are going to have different colors and different numbers on them, from 1 to 6. And so you'll draw these and add them to your hand. Now, the number of cards that you will draw is one of your stats here. It starts at 2, but there are certain buildings that you can build as the game goes by that may increase that. So let's say I built this biosphere here, you'll notice that it increases my draw. So when I take that action, I'll get more of those, I'll get more of the prism cards. You can then power a contract. Now when you power a contract, on the contract it shows you what it needs. This one here needs at least 5 blue. Now I can use as many blue as I need to, and I can overpay, but if I pay exactly, there's a bonus. You will immediately get 1 extra action. So in essence, if you can pay exactly for a contract to change it to a district, then you can do it for a free action. So I would just turn it over like that. Now, a couple things. First of all, there can only be so many districts in your city. That's another stat down here. This shows how many districts can be in your city at any point. You start being able to have 4, but it can go up to 10. The other stat that I haven't mentioned is cards that you can have in your hand at the end of the turn, the prism cards. So you can only keep so many of those from round to round. Now, sometimes you're going to run out of room in your city at some point. Instead of building a new district, you can upgrade a district. The way when you upgrade a district is the same thing. You pay the price to do it and you upgrade, but you'll place it on top of a district that's already same. See, this one's Parkland, this is Parkland, this one's worth 4 victory points, this one's worth 1, so this is smaller. It can go on top of this, and so I'm using fewer space in my thing, so I still only have 3 districts here attached to my power plant, but this one will still, at the end of the game, give me points equal to what's on it. This is 1 and 4, and in fact gives me a bonus point because I've upgraded a level. And each level that you upgrade will give you an extra bonus point at the end of the game. And again, it's more efficient as you put them in. Then there's the user exchange. There's a spot in the middle of the board called the user exchange. If you have a contract that you don't think you're going to build, each contract in the game has a special ability on it. You'll see this one here says draw 2 prison cards and then gain an action point. This one here, target rival must choose, discard a contract or let you power a contract and get an action point. This one here, draw and reveal 7 prism cards, only keep prism cards of 1 type, discard the rest, and then gain an action point. Well, at least I could read that, sorry about that. But anyhow, each of these cards, when you want to play one of these cards, you're going to discard it and stick it in the exchange. When you do that, it flips over and it becomes a district that someone else can steal on a future turn as one of their actions and put in their city. But these are powerful abilities, and that's something that you can do. And finally, you can challenge a contract in someone else's city. I can say, hey, I'm going to build this contract in your city. If I do that, I can pay for it and build it in my city, unless the person I challenge happens to be able to build it right then and there with the cards that they have in their hand, then they can immediately do so for free. So you're always taking a risk when you do that. This will continue. Each player will do this. They will add 2 contracts. They will take their 2 actions, and then they'll discard down and go to the next turn. And this will continue until one player has 8 different districts on their grid, or you basically run out of contracts in the middle, which either one of those could happen. And when that happens, you'll simply add up the points on districts that people have, and you'll add up the points for any agendas. See, you're going to put out some agendas at the beginning of the game, and each of these agendas is going to be taken by the first person to do it. You're the first person to upgrade 3 districts, 5 points. You're the first to have a marina, seaport, and island, 5 points. And so these are basically out in the middle of the table. There's going to be a certain number of these that are available out there, and based on a number of players. And if you're the first person to do one, you grab one, and those will be added to your score at the end of the game. The game comes with some optional districts that you can use. These are governmental districts. They have different colors that are able to be used in them. It just basically adds another type of district. There's orange, blue, and green districts in the original game. You can just add these in for some variety. And if that's not good enough for you, you can also add special characters that each person will have. And there's different traits that you can have that will give you special abilities that only you have over the course of the game. And there's also these pylons here, and you can spend an action sticking a card under a pylon, and basically that will subtract from the cost for you to turn contracts into districts over the course of the game. These are small little expansions, but can easily be added into the game. Now, this is not a difficult game to learn. The rules for the game are pretty straightforward, but it is a difficult game, I think, to play well. When you first start, you're going to assume that having high numbers of those prism cards that you draw is better. And in essence, that's slightly true, although the smaller ones aren't bad, and there are many ways to mitigate that. But someone who gets a bunch of higher ones can build districts more quickly. That does not ensure that they're going to do well. And those one-time use contract card things can be very powerful when used at the right moment, especially when you use it in such a way that the next person after you can't take that. So you have to be very cautious. This game has kind of a delicate balance to it, because using those one-time contract cards, you're giving the next person a possibility to get something for free, which is pretty powerful. But also, stealing from somebody else can have major repercussions, because first of all, you might be taking a contract that they're working to get the cards for, or you might be setting them up to complete it on their turn, which essentially takes away one of your action points and gives them one. Now, I like that idea. I like the ha-ha-ha type thing about that, but you have to be very cautious when doing it and kind of watch the cards that they've been drawing, how many cards have they drawn, and be prepared for that. There's really kind of a lot going on here, and as you look at the different cards, and there's different types, and you want to try to build the bigger contracts first so that you can build the smaller ones on top of them and upgrade. At the same time, those smaller ones are tempting. You can build those right now. Game isn't very long, and I don't think this should be played with more than 4. I think 4 is the maximum, just because of how much stuff will change between turns. I think 3 is a better number, and even 2 is not a bad number to play this game at. There's a lot of aspects of this game that I like. I like how when you build some districts, it changes those stats. The more cards you can have at the end of a turn, the more cards you draw, the more districts you can have on the table. That sort of thing is very intriguing, and trying to figure out which ones are which and look at the different things. I think all 3 of the mini expansions, just throw them in, really. The special abilities are fine. The pylons are good. The government contracts just adds a little bit more variety to the game and keeps things flowing. I do think it's possible in this game that someone could have some really good luck at the beginning, draw what they need for their contracts, build 2 contracts exactly with the cards they need at the beginning of the game, and have a slight leg up on the opponents. But I don't know that that's game breaking. My first game I wondered, but after that, on further plays, it seems like it is pretty balanced, and it does have a unique feel. It's a little more abstract than you might think, but there is some, where am I putting the different cards in the city, in relationship, but at the same time, you're also there, I need 3 green, I don't know what those prism cards represent, some sort of power or whatever. I like it. It's interesting. It's a solid little card game. I think a lot of people are going to walk by, kind of glance at it and go, and walk on by. The artwork is really good if you look closely. I don't know that it grabs people to the table, but once you look at it, I think it works well. So anyway, check this one out. Really, it's an interesting card game. APE Games makes a lot of cool card games that have some different interactions, and I felt like this one has more player interaction than it appears to, and you're constantly watching what other people do on their turn because that may affect you. You may see them taking the districts you want, so maybe you're not going to work on that type of district. They may be ready to steal from you. You may steal from them. There's a lot going on in Rise to Power. Dice Tower Judgment approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!